How's it hanging, dudes? My name is Sean, and welcome back to, well, not welcome back, but welcome to my review, an honest review. You know how I do this, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you one bit. Tell you exactly what I think and how I feel about it. Well, the Meg. To put it simple, it's a shark movie. And not just a shark movie, but a giant Chinese monster of a shark movie. While the Megalodon is a giant sea creature, I should stress that this is not a kaiju movie. The mysteriousness of this monster is duly explained in the film, henceforth the mystique about it is solved. And it is in fact not a monster, but a once living giant shark, which makes it an animal, not a kaiju. I have videos on what classifies kaiju and what doesn't. You can check that out. But why Chinese? We'll get to that later. Okay, so this is an honest review. So up front, I'd like to give this movie, a 6 to 6.5 out of a possible 10 gold blooms. That isn't a bad rating coming from me, really. I mean, I kind of have high standards, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, there are many things this film did right, and there are so many things it did wrong. I should also stress that this review is upon seeing the film for the very first time, just getting back from the theater, having all my thoughts, freshly written down on paper. So I guess let's see what got us to 6 gold blooms, shall we? First, Jason Statham is a decent actor, and as such, the action scenes were well done. No obvious glaring issues. There were many decent actors. Lee Bingbing, no laughing. Cliff Curtis from Fear of the Walking Dead and Winston Chow played their roles very well and convincingly. Stop laughing. Their character arcs were decently acted and portrayed. You achieved a sense of growth to a certain extent with these characters. There were some character development flaws, but more on that later. The story was cohesive and made sense for the most part. Why they needed Statham's help, where the Meg came from, why it had to stay there, as well as reasons for the expedition, all made decent sense and was loosely rooted in actual scientific theories. For example, the Marianas Trench floor being gaseous instead of rock bottom giving way to even deeper depths, right? Told you there'd be spoilers. You guys gotta watch out. Gotta watch out. Plenty of them. These effects were good. Just the overall CGI, no glaring issues, super big issues that it's what you would expect from a modern day, blockbuster CGI film. From beginning to end, it was easy to follow and maintain, and with plenty of jump scares, and the fact that the few intense scenes were done right got us to a gold bloom total of about 6. For example, the opening scene, which sets up the moral dilemma for Statham's character and backstory going forward, was expertly done. Intense, edge of your seat, and a sense of wonder and fear all bottled up into one tight decision that the main character only hesitates for a second to make. And there was no comic relief. And that was what this movie, that was the movie's biggest downfall. Comic relief. No scene after the opening was without comic relief. Not a single full scene. Even after 3 people are supposedly sadly eaten or selflessly giving up their life to save another, there was comic relief. Many people die and there isn't lingering sadness with mournful music. There's comic relief with fading action music. It boggles my mind why so many intense, story-driven, action-packed, life and death-defying type movies are riddled with comic relief. While it was ever-present and oddly presented and never really fully landing the punchlines, it wasn't as goofy as The Last Jedi, but it was as forced. For example, Toshi, played by Heroes Masaoka, I hope I said that right, I'm going to butcher names, was the first to sacrifice himself for others. If it is supposed to be sad and serious, right? But you have no time to care about that character because the only few clips you give him are cracking sex jokes, awkwardly saying direct into the camera via director and editor's cut silly phrases that are supposed to make the idiot billionaire ask a question to further the plot, right? And then he scribbles a love letter to his wife after realizing his fate, which they're going to die under the sea. This has no emotional impact because he spent his 5 minutes on screen cracking jokes, being tossed around literally, and then sacrificing himself to save Statham's ex-wife, who isn't seen for the rest of the film because she has a metal shard stuck through her abdomen, and a chubby guy who is supposed to be the comic relief, and also at the same time sad for Toshi's death. The comic relief conflicted way too much for how serious this movie was taking itself. This movie can't decide, who it wants to be the comic relief of the film, because at one point or another, every single character has to have some sort of joke, snarky comment, or add lightheartedness to break somewhat tension, the tension that never really gets a chance to build because the next incoming joke is right around the corner, which completely cuts off said tension. There are just so many instances that it would have to literally be a video by itself. So I'm moving on. The movie also can't decide if Statham has one or two love interests. He settles his differences with the doctor, whom he saved in the opening scene, by expressing his need for his ex-wife to live. Remember, because she has a skewer stuck through her abdomen. She is then gone till the end, and he constantly flirts and toys around with the idea of Su-Yin, played by Bing Bing, no laughing, as another love interest. I said no laughing. The movie even cracks yet another joke when the child actress, who is the best one out of them all, if you ask, in my opinion, my mom likes you too. And she says that in the middle of him flirting with his ex-wife, who, had a shard stuck through her body and is now up and about, running full functioning member of the crew like nothing had ever happened, and she wasn't a living shish kebab just a few days prior. So, it was obvious and annoying, and she was only introduced because the movie jokingly reintroduced because the movie jokingly killed 3 people, including the old white doctor who sacrificed himself for the edgy lesbian. That nice subtle SJW ploy, you know what I mean? So, which is no big deal, whatever. It was a good, it actually brought the doctor's story arc all the way around, which kind of summed up his character, kind of. Which made him not the asshole working against Statham, right? I guess. I really don't know. Was the doctor set up to be the bad guy? He was the guy from the beginning that resented Statham. But that's another thing. I can't figure out who the bad guy is here. Yes, the MEG is their biggest, concern. But even in Jurassic Park, Nedry was the one working against the people, not just the dinosaurs. In the film, they try to make it the doctor first, and then his arc is finished quickly, and then he's eaten. So then the pompous billionaire is the obvious choice for the bad guy, right? He is stupid, but obviously cares about his investment. He is the money behind the whole project. After all, he is clueless, but in the fray with all the other joke cracking, no story arc characters. I think there's like 12 to be exact. Even to the point of being on that tiny yacht with them hunting the MEG, right? It's just. He even saves the lesbian who jokingly talks about throwing him overboard in the next scene. See what I'm saying? So he even saves somebody. This guy is on a yacht with them. He's going toe-to-toe. This guy who knows nothing is a bumbling buffoon. He's just the money behind the project. Is out there helping people, saving people, hunting the MEG with them in this little tiny yacht. More on that later. And then the very next scene, the girl he saves jokes about throwing him overboard. It's very odd seeing as the pompous billionaire just saved your butt, right? Which proves that he wants to help and see this thing through, which holds true to him still wanting to protect his investments at the same time. So it still makes him a pompous billionaire, because if all of his scientists die, he can't finish the project, and it'd be all money down the drain. So he's actually caring about the project, even if it's for his own selfish motivation. His character was fine and made sense. Until they made his character go from a clueless investment protecting but meanful billionaire to a James Bond made villain, like by lying about the government was taking matters into their own hands, and everybody gets to go home, and a rescue mission's coming, everything's fine, and they've called off the hunt, and then only to try and blow the MEG up himself for fear of lawsuits. And the whole thing about calling the government was a lie and nobody was coming to rescue them, just because he don't want the MEG to eat people and sue him, when the fact that he funded the team to the bottom of the Marianas Trench and discovering the MEG would have paid for that cost alone. Just the achievement of all of that stuff being accredited to you would more than pay for those lawsuits. So it seems a bit forced. Like at the end of the movie, they need to, like, oh crap, there's no real bad guy to point to who's going to screw things up even worse. So they just kind of forced a person who is actually a key member actually helping them. So it felt kind of forced. So in conclusion, this was a very Chinese movie, and by that I mean a predominant amount of Chinese and Asian actors, Chinese cinematic music being set in China and so on and so forth, means it was a Chinese-made American movie, and they set out to do well in the Chinese market, and they did well, making 50 million as of August 12th in mainland China, making about a total of 90 million in a total offshore sales. That's what I mean by it being a giant Chinese monster movie, and it was. They did a really good job for that. So scientific inaccuracies, again, of course I'm no scientist, I'm just a guy on the internet, but some of the obvious things I would point out is you wouldn't hunt a megalodon if they existed today in a tiny yacht with a Marlin style harpoon gun and a crank. You know what I mean? Like you're on a little bitty tugboat, little Mickey Mouse boat, compared to this megalodon. It makes no sense. There's bigger boats that you hunt smaller fish with. So, also giant sharks, hell, even whales for that matter. Any humongous large sea creature that would often avoid shallow waters, especially really warm, shallow reefs, because they don't want to get beached with with a high tide that immediately goes low. They also won't be around crowded beaches because they scare away all of the fish that they tend to eat. So, and with a humongous shark larger than a whale, these same rules should apply. So yeah, there's a couple weird things that just was glaring to me. There's probably a whole lot more, but I'm not that science based, so those are the kind of things that really stood out to me. I would say, however, that the whole below the gas deep in the Marianas Trench could provide for all kinds of movies and hidden sea creatures like plesiosaurs and such. Whether we see very any other kind of animals, I don't know, but we did get to see a very large, huge, bigger than what science has observed squid or octopus, and it was really big. I mean, not with past the means of credibility, but it was huge. So I guess what I have to say is, please stop with the damn comic relief. When people die, just let us feel it. But we didn't have time to build up a connection with the 112 characters, almost as if the movie knew that and covered it up with the he's and ha-has. So I guess that's my review, guys. So a 6 Goldblums out of a possible 10. It's not bad, but certainly it's no Jaws. I would go see it only if you had the extra cash, but you're more than okay with waiting until it comes out on Blu-ray. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, don't forget, I'm in the comment section after every single video. I appreciate you guys like always, and I'll see you in the next one. Got a big surprise coming for you tomorrow.
You had me at hello.
Oh, baby.